Welcome back to CVine News Network. We are doing double duty here. We're not only recording the video for the CVine News Network, but we're also recording for AM 590 radio. So those of you who will be listening to this on the radio, you obviously won't see the video, but if you would like to see the video, we will be posting it on our website at c-fine.com, c-fine.com. Today we're going to discuss how Americans are waking up as we view all these sensationalized headlines. And Lord only knows there are a lot of them. And most of them, we don't even know if it's true or if it's exaggerated or whichever. So we're going to be going over a couple of those today. Now, keep in mind, CVine News is all volunteer based. We're a charitable trust. Nobody is getting paid. We have people of all walks of life coming to us to be citizen journalists, to bring us the news. We have licensed investigators that check the veracity of the news. We have all sorts of individuals with various talents that post it on our website. We are on multiple different types of social media, different types of social media all over, and all those are listed on our website. No one's paid. No one's paid. We're coming to you trying to give a voice to as many people as possible. Okay, now today we have as our guest, we have Gregory Brittain. And I'd like to introduce you to him. I also will be minimizing the screen so we can also show you some pictures in background. Okay, I'm sharing my screen, and today my co-host, who is also a CVine volunteer, a very knowledgeable man who is an attorney here in Southern California. He also has his own AM 590 radio show called The Answer, which is with the Redlands Tea Party Patriots and Unite Coalition. Well, welcome, Greg Brittain. Thank you.
Oh, pleased to be back.
He's my co-host today, so he's going to be helping me out with many things. As you can see here in the background, we have the enlarged version of the c-fine.com website, c-fine.com website, and we will be adding news stories every single day on the latest breaking news, along with opinion pieces and analysis. For YouTube listening in on us, everything today is an opinion, and we are going to be discussing news stories that are already out there as in an analysis. Okay, Greg, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
I think you pretty well covered. I am an attorney in my spare time when I'm not doing all of my my political work as a leader, one of the leaders of the Redlands Tea Party Patriots, and we're trying to restart the Unite Coalition of conservative groups in Southern California, believing that we can be more effective together than as isolated pockets of resistance. And as you mentioned, my radio show on AM 590.
Okay, excellent. I am so glad to have you with me today. All right, let's go on the first story that we have here on the website, which is all these warning signs. An out of control Chinese rocket is.
Oh no! Panic!
I know, right? I mean, really, is this seriously a problem? Because as it says here in the article, fear-mongering has been going crazy with all different types of news stories. And there was one thing that I was kind of wondering, and, you know, Greg, I'd love to hear your feedback on it. I personally think a lot of these are diversions, but question I have, usually stages of rockets are discharged from the main body in smaller pieces that burn up on re-entry of the Earth's atmosphere. So why would a huge piece be intact? And number two, doesn't the military shoot missiles out of the sky all the time without being forewarned? And in fact, don't they spend a fair amount of time practicing that?
Well, we have a very limited missile defense capability. I doubt that they would waste some very valuable and expensive anti-missile missiles on this piece of junk. So obviously this part of the rocket made it into orbit. It's not a stable orbit. The orbit is decaying. As even in orbit, there's still a little bit of atmosphere, and that can act as a drag on the object, and eventually it reaches a speed where it falls out of orbit, and most of it will burn up in the atmosphere. Some big chunks of things, like this piece of rocket, some of it may make it to the ground or to the surface. Of course, 70% of the planet is covered by ocean. And so the odds of a piece of this rocket hitting someone or damaging a human building are just remote. It's whether it's diversion or whether it's something for the media to hype because it's a new danger. People are much more focused on a new danger, something they're not familiar with, than compared to the ordinary run-of-the-mill things like driving your car. They've internalized that. They accept that risk. They kind of understand that risk. But something new, and they certainly exploited this on a much larger extent with the coronavirus. When you had a new disease come along, the people they did not know it, did not understand it, did not know how to factor it into their life, and they were able to terrify large numbers of people with this new disease. And this rocket is a smaller example of that.
Yes, but they're doing multitudes of smaller examples, multitudes. So this is just another one of them. We were just going to touch on this very briefly because the conspiracy theories are going crazy. Some of them are saying, well, maybe somehow miraculously it will come down on the Three Gorges Dam where they say, Bitcoin and everything is underneath the dam and it's going to destroy all that. And you guys remember back what President Trump said? If there is going to be anything that's going on, he doesn't give any forewarning and all the stuff that's going on out there. Stop with the timelines or whichever. Just look at things with interest. There's no way you can know one way or another. We aren't meant to know. Just be observing and don't take it to heart so much that it's all the stuff that's going on, that it's meant to cause fear mongering. Now let's move on to the next story here. They have also the U.S. pipeline operator that transports 45% of East Coast fuel shuts the entire network down after the cyber attack. Now, interestingly enough, there is a gentleman, another citizen journalist. I want to play just a little bit of a clip because he worked on this pipeline. I just want to play a little bit of a clip on what he has to say. It's not the entire thing. Well, you tell me what you think.
Hey folks, what's up? Now, let me talk to y'all about something totally different than crypto, okay? So if you haven't watched the news or haven't seen on your feed, Colonial Pipeline, which runs from Houston to New Jersey, there's actually two of them. There's a 36 and a 42-inch line. They run parallel. The reason I know this is because I've walked every inch of that pipeline system multiple times, okay? It's been cyber attacked. Wonder who did it, okay? And here we go with my conspiracy theories again, but if you want to push people to A, not travel as much, B, look for alternatives on their vehicle to get away from gasoline, what's a great way to do it? Raise the price of gasoline. How can you do that? You can have a cyber attack, a quote cyber attack on a pipeline and shut the system in, which by the way, supplies, they're saying 45% of the gasoline to the Northeast. It's actually over 50% unless they've changed something since the last time I worked on that line.
That was John Bogan. I just thought it was an interesting thing because we are bringing citizen journalists on to hear, giving them a platform to what it is they have to say. How many of you have been around when there was the gas crisis of 1973?
Yeah, I remember that. And the one in 1978 under Jimmy Carter, the gas lines.
Well, it's interesting because there have been a couple of them, and I also remember it vividly. I remember my father. I was just a little girl. Sorry, Greg. But I was just a little girl, and my dad was sitting in the front seat, and he was talking to my mom. And I still remember this to this day. He said, "Don't ever let your gas tank go below half a tank. Whenever it gets to a half a tank, start standing in line." And people were standing in line. Well, the cars were standing in line, going around multiple blocks. What else do you remember about that?
Well, that was basically it. And I also remember that we had fuel shortages in the 1970s under government price controls. And when Ronald Reagan came in, he removed the price controls on American produced oil, and the price of gasoline and petroleum products plummeted.
Interesting. Very interesting. I also remember at that time, they would have, you could only get gas on either even or odd numbered days. I don't remember exactly how they determined that, but it was quite an ordeal. And interestingly enough, I mean, this the cyber attack on this is pretty much this pipeline was meant to help prevent this type of thing. And the timing is quite incredible. What are your thoughts about that, Greg?
Well, I think unlike the Chinese rocket, the risk of cyber attacks on our infrastructure and key industries such as fuel delivery, electric power generation, food delivery, others is a real serious threat, either by people working domestically. I'm not sure I buy into his suggestion that it's the US government trying to get people to use less gasoline idea, although I certainly would not put anything morally past our government. But in terms of either private terrorist groups or foreign countries, it is a real threat. And if we are in a war again with a major country, we're going to see this, both defensively, trying to resist it, and hopefully offensively, where we're trying to do the same thing to them. It's a new form of warfare.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that are a new form of warfare that's going on these days. And it's learning to think on your feet and definitely use critical thinking is extremely important right now because the rule book has very much changed. Let's move on to the next news story. As most of us know, I hope all of you know that there is the audit going on in Arizona and Maricopa County. And we've been watching this very closely. Whatever everyone does, do not take your eyes off of this audit. Keep your eyes on this audit at all times. Greg, I gave you something that was written by Praying Medic on social media. Would you be willing to read that, please?
Sure. Speculation on the Maricopa audit by Praying Medic, who's an internet commentator and political personality. Arizona Vice Chair Pam Kirby's tweet last night is very telling. Kirby said the Maricopa Board of Supervisors should assume the auditors have what they need. Her comments suggest that the Senate's requests are merely an opportunity for the Board of Supervisors to get on the right side of this issue. Somehow, they got the information they needed. Now they're offering the Board of Supervisors one last chance. One last chance to what? To avoid criminal prosecution? The Board of Supervisors doesn't want to disclose any more information. That's why they had Sheriff Penzoni write his letter about the routers. But if the board does not provide the items mentioned in the subpoena, they face legal problems. The auditors and the Senate are in the driver's seat. They don't need the passwords. They know why the county doesn't have them. The county admitted that Dominion serves as the admin for the equipment. If, as Kirby's tweet implies, they have the information they were looking for, then they don't need the routers either. The requests for passwords and routers are for the sake of optics. They want the public to know the Board of Supervisors was given an opportunity to come clean. Notice that the requests and replies are immediately made public. Continued attempts by the Board of Supervisors to hide election data, the media's attempts to discredit the audit, the Department of Justice's threat to interfere in the audit, all point to the Senate being in control of the process. Judging by the tone and content of messaging by Senate leadership, it seems they already have enough information to know the likely outcome of the audit.
Which I find very interesting. And as this continues to move forward, we see all kinds of daily drama going on. I've heard a lot of good things about what they're doing and making certain everything's on the up and up. There's no problem with that, doing double checking. Here's a note from General Flynn that is applicable to this. Again, for those who are listening on social media and do some censoring, these are all opinions by us and commentary. Okay? All right, so this note from General Flynn is, he says, our nation stands at the crossroads of history and we face a very serious decision point in the life of our nation. The United States of America. If we, the people, don't step up and place demands on all elected officials to discover the truth of this last election, November 3rd, 2020, we may never have another free and fair election for any elected office again. This is not a political party issue. This is an American issue. Free and fair elections represent the essence of democracy and many thousands of Americans who have fought and died for all of us to be free and to be able to vote as equals. One person, one vote from a citizen of the United States. What are your thoughts on that, Greg?
Flynn is exactly right on, is that the republic and any representative democracy depends upon the belief that there has been an honest election. And even more so where we are very deeply divided on things, on values, on goals, on do you want to be a socialist country, what have you. If you believe there was an honest election and the other side just got more votes than you did, that's something you may be able to accept. And maybe you change your messaging, try to get better candidates for next time. Maybe it was just unfortunate circumstances. The economy turned bad, which the politicians can't necessarily control. You might have a disease pandemic come along like the last time, which may interfere with things. So maybe just bad circumstances. But 2 years hence, there's going to be another honest election, and 2 years after that, and 2 years after that, and 2 years after that. But if you think, as this one, as I am convinced that it was stolen, was fraudulent, was crooked, then your government has no legitimacy. And then the whole thing the republic cannot last when large numbers of people believe the election is crooked. And the latest poll that I saw by Rasmussen, which is a very reputable pollster, 51% of Americans think that fraud affected the outcome of the election, including, I think, 74% of Republicans and 30% of Democrats also believe that.
That's very telling right there. That's absolutely fascinating. We need to go ahead and break right now for a commercial. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Those of you that are on YouTube that are watching this video, if you see the like button down there and you're liking this, please click it. It very much helps us. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back to CBI News Network. We are resuming our show with my co-host today, Gregory Brittain, and we just were finishing up discussing about the Maricopa County audit in Arizona. And Greg had one other last thing he wanted to say.
You would think that having the presidential election stolen from you, from the Republican Party, would get them fighting mad, but it didn't. other than President Trump and maybe a few others, the Republican Party and all of its electeds accepted the fraud and even supported, oh yeah, this was an honest election. This was the most secure election we ever had, blah, blah, blah. And I'm fascinated by that response, because if they can steal this one, they'll steal future elections too.
Yep, you're absolutely correct. And again, because of the way social media is right now, this is opinion. And I say this with a smile because this is the only thing we're allowed without getting censored and booted. So, commentary and analysis. Moving on to the next one, where Americans are standing up and they are basically taking our schools back, which is a fascinating thing of what's going on. This happened in Vail, Arizona. I'm only going to play a part of this for you, but the parents got together because they were upset. They were fed up with a lot of the things that were going on in the school system. They were fed up with the mask mandates that was going on. They were personally fed up because of having certain hormones and gender changing options that were done without parental discussion, without parental permission. So they pretty much held the school board to task, and they weren't going to listen to it. They didn't want to hear any excuses. So the school board, after enough of the parents were pretty adamant, putting their foot down, they got up and quit. So all these parents got together. This is fascinating. And they just elected 5 new school board members, and they put everything in place. And I want you to watch this. This is how it's done, folks. This is what happens when we pull together, in unity, especially when it's for our children. Watch this.
Are you district? Stacy? Okay, we have with District Sanders.
Right here.
You're in district?
Okay.
Sanders. Come on up.
Name? What's your name?
Stacy Ollinger.
Stacy Ollinger. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second in district. All right.
Okay. Take my number.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we got like 2 nays.
We got 2.
All right, what was your name?
Stacy Ollinger.
All right, perfect. We got 2.
We have.
So this is Robert Rules of Order.
Quiet.
Right there, Angelica Hemming.
Okay, who nominates her?
Wait a minute, you're in Vail.
I second.
Are you in bail?
Yes.
All right. What was your name?
Angelica Hemming.
All right.
I second.
Angelica, we got a second. All right, all those in favor of Angelica?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, congrats. That's 3. Who else?
Anybody else in Vail?
Who else in Vail? Go outside, find someone.
Okay.
Somebody nominate her if she wants to be a member. 3. 1, 2, 3. Anastasia. Okay, you nominate Anastasia. What's your name?
Anastasia Tsatsakis.
All right. All in favor of Anastasia?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Congratulations.
What was your full name?
Right, Mama.
Full name?
Anastasia Tsatsakis.
Okay. One more? That's 4.
We need 5.
It's 5. If they've all quit, we're hearing they've all quit. Who's nominating? That's 4.
There's someone back there.
Oh, you were nominated? We didn't vote on you.
Okay.
We didn't vote on her.
Hey, we already had somebody here that got passed over.
Okay, someone needs, so she has to be nominated.
Tiffany Sanders. I second it.
Seconded? Okay. All in favor of Tiffany?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, full name?
Tiffany Sanders.
All right, so that's 5. They've all been elected based on the Robert's Rules of Order. At this point, we need to adjourn. Okay, at this point, so somebody needs a motion to adjourn.
I'm going to go out there and tell them what's going on.
No, hey, let's get rid of the mask policy first.
Oh, okay, okay,
We
so
have to have have an official meeting first.
So they'll have to meet on that. The board will have
Next
to.
to each other.
Oh my gosh. Do you guys have new board?
Let's get pictures of the new board.
New bill. Need one more. Where's the fifth?
Where's the other board member?
Need the fifth. Someone find Angelica.
It's your first day on the job.
Yeah, so
Let's go.
new board. Okay, so here's the new board.
It's your first day on your job. Don't fail.
Martha, can they vote to remove the mask? Okay. All right, you guys. Hey, you can vote to remove the mask. So somebody on the board needs the motion to remove the mask, and then someone needs the second. Okay, hold on. Hold on, guys. Quiet.
Everybody be quiet. Quiet.
Go ahead.
I motion that the entire Vail School District will be free of mask policy and it will be optional to all teachers and students alike with no fear of retribution.
Perfect. All right, board member needs a second. Okay, we need to have a vote. Okay, say your name.
Angelica, aye.
I, Tiffany Sanders.
Aye, Stacy Olinger.
I believe it.
Aye, Anastasia.
Okay, that's unanimous. No more mask in Vail. Is there any other agenda items you guys need to handle down here?
Motion that Vail School District has no rights to do any medical interventions on any child,
Yes.
even with an emergency order.
Okay. Repeat that.
I motion that the Vail School District has no rights to do any medical interventions on a child, even with even with an emergency order.
So no, you want to repeat it one more time? I think people here are giving feedback that they don't want it to force.
I motion that the Vail School District is not allowed to force or even recommend medical treatments for children without parental consent, and it does not matter for an emergency order.
Okay, so there it is. Anyone second that?
I second that.
Okay, so let's have a vote. Say your name.
Aye, Angelica.
Hi, Tiffany.
Aye, Anastasia.
Aye, Stacy.
I believe it.
Okay, motion's passed unanimously. Anything else that needs to be handled?
Okay, that is how it's done. That is how it's done. And I'm finding out this is going on in schools all over the US. You don't hear about this on mainstream media, but people in various different towns, cities, counties, whichever, are getting together as parents, and they're going to the school boards and they're making demands and they're holding feet to the fire, and they are absolutely forbidding some of the stuff that's been going on, which is atrocious. And I'm not going to get into all of it right now. I am hoping most of you are aware of this. Greg, what are your thoughts?
Can we use the same technique on the Congress? Actually, the board members made a serious unforced error. They should not have resigned. They had not resigned, then perhaps they could have been recalled under Arizona law. I'm not sure about that, or maybe challenged at the next election. But by resigning, they surrendered control to us, the good guys, but the enemies of the board members and the teacher union. So that was a serious error on their part. But take it when the enemy makes a mistake, take full advantage of it.
Yes.
The other thing that showed is, again, the importance of what we quote on our show and in the Redlands Tea Party Patriots, Justice Louis Brandeis, who said, the most important political office is that of the private citizen. And you saw there the private citizens of Vail, Arizona, took control of their schools, not the government schools, not the teacher union schools, their schools, the private citizens' schools, and they were able to take control of them. Other districts, he tried to do that in Los Angeles Unified School District. I'm not sure you would have the same successful results. Even in Redlands, I'm not sure that we would have the same successful results. Although if we could mobilize enough parents who don't like all the stuff that's happening in the government-run schools, perhaps we could influence them, if not to resign, but at least to change their policies.
Yes, very well said. Now we're going to need to move on with the last two things I'm just going to touch on because we're very close to the end of our hour here. The Montana and Florida are canceling unemployment benefits because of workforce shortage. Now, isn't that interesting? And shouldn't other states follow suit?
Well, you have the situation with coronavirus, and this almost from the beginning is they made unemployment insurance with extra supplements paid more than many, particularly lower income workers, were making working. And since people, they may be lower income, but they're not stupid. They could see, oh, I can stay home and I can make more money than I could going to work. Plus, I suspect a fair number of them did some work on the side for cash to supplement their income even more. So they acted rationally in their own interests. The problem is a screwy system like that pays people more to not work than to work. So obviously that needs to change.
Well, I think it was by design that way, in my opinion. It's for the most part getting the public's permission to move forward towards socialism, to have Big Daddy take care of you type of thing. Moving on from there, I wanted to touch on this last point. The America's Frontline Doctors last weekend were going to be having a 3-day extravaganza that had a multitude of physicians that were going to be going over the science and the data and discussing this and explaining many, many things. And it was going to be done online. They were able to get through with 6 physicians who had some incredible things to say. And then all of a sudden they were cyber attacked and the whole thing went down. Okay, people, take that as you want. If you don't want to do the conspiracy theory thing and think this, it was just cyber attack. That's really a bummer. There are a lot of things here that you just need to be paying attention to. One of the things that was mentioned is, again, hydroxychloroquine.
That's easy for you to say.
Along with vitamin D3 and zinc and this type of thing can actually be used as a preventative in getting COVID. Preventative. And they brought this up on many situations. And then it has also been discussed and brought up that with the things that are coming out that is showing that there is a certain amount of shedding going on with individuals that have been immunized, whether it be, shedding from their skin or through their breath, are actually infecting people who are not immunized. And so you see where this is going. In fact, Pfizer came on and agreed that was what was going on. And the other two, Merck and Johnson & Johnson, I believe, were also saying the same thing. Well, let's use a little bit of deductive reasoning and listen to people who are showing us science that may not be necessarily agreed upon by other certain factions, but they have that right to show their science and have their voice. And I think it's generally a good idea. We've always been told to get multiple opinions from doctors. If you have a diagnosis of cancer, go to another doctor to get a second opinion. Well, start getting other opinions and listen and do some of your own research. So what about deductive reasoning, taking hydroxychloroquine if you are married and or around children that have not been vaccinated and you have been, or whichever, same thing with going vice versa, because it's all within families. Can you see the fear mongering that's going to be coming out of this? Take hydroxychloroquine. It is so simple. And I've been taking it myself. Most people I know have been taking it and they're not coming down with COVID. But there's going to be another one this weekend, although interestingly enough, I can't seem to find it. We will let you know if it comes on, but listen to what they say. Greg, do you have any last words to say before we sign off?
The ruling class and all of its government agencies, all of its institutions, all of its woke corporations, and we see this especially with the hyper-politicized coronavirus, have shredded all trust and confidence in their competence, in their integrity, and in their fidelity. You can't trust any of these people, and especially with your life or your health. Like I said, do your own research, get the second opinion, get the third opinion, go to people like America's frontline doctors who have no financial stake or political stake in the coronavirus situation and vaccines and so on. And then make an informed decision for your own health and don't trust others with that.
Right, that is americasfrontlinedoctors.org. You also, they have things set up where you can talk to a physician on the phone. They talk to you about your history, your background, what medications you're taking, and if you are a candidate for whatever treatment they have, they will go ahead and prescribe it. And the other problem is quite a few pharmacies, or interestingly enough, are not fulfilling doctor's orders, a physician's order for hydroxychloroquine. And so they have various different pharmacies around the US close to you that they will send the order off to, and they will actually mail it to your address directly. So it's just a matter of going to the website and getting this started. Thank you everyone for joining me today. If you are so inclined to help c-find.com, our network, to move forward, as we are all citizen journalists and this is a charitable trust, if you would like to donate or become a member of our website, please go ahead and join us, become a member, and there are donation buttons there that you can push on. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.